Hello, everybody. Alrighty then. So, welcome to the Mikestand. Today is Thursday. Today is, of course, Thursday, November the 20th, 2025. Hopefully, everybody's having a good day, a good week. Of course, we're going to give people a chance to come in. Friendly reminder, everybody, on both my YouTube and Rumble viewership. If you haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and/or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my abilities. So, before we get started, as I said, we're going to give people a chance to come in. Let's see. Oh yeah. So, anyways, um, la 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 la. La 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 la. All right. So let's see. Anyways, all right. Well, I guess I'll just go ahead and get started. Anyways, we're coming up on two. Normally, I will wait till like 3 minutes before I even get started, but I think I'll just get going here. So tonight we got a couple of articles that we'll go over from MeTV Tunes. One in regards to a pretty interesting pairing for a Christmas movie from years ago. Ed Asner and the late great Betty White from the story of Santa Claus. And we find out that modern day actor Jacob Elordi has also had some things to say about, I guess, a cartoon that influenced him and in his work. Plus, of course, we'll have the wrestling wrap up, get all caught up on all the latest in both WWE and AEW. Get caught up on last night's Dynamite. Look ahead to tonight's Impact, as well as we'll look ahead to tonight's Impact, as well as the Ring of Honor Club, and we'll also talk a little. Well, again, we'll kind of get caught up on the current lineup for this Saturday's Full Gear. So, with all that being said, and then we'll wrap things up with this day in each history. So, with all that being said, let's go ahead and get ourselves going here. And again, if you haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the screen, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So let's get started here. Let me pull up the articles that we'll go over here today. All right, so here's the first article that we'll go over today. Why Ed Asner accepted the titular role in the story of Santa Claus, how Betty White saved Christmas. Article published yesterday by MeTV's and staff. All right, so here we go. Every so often on our holiday programming gets an extra special. And this year it's The Story of Santa Claus, a 1996 classic telling of the origins of Santa Claus and how he began bringing Christmas magic to children all over the world. Playing the big man himself is Ed Asner, famous for the Mary Tyler Moore Show and Lou Grant. Asner began voice acting in the 1980s, and his career led to appearing in cartoons like Captain Planet and the Planeteers. I believe he was Hoggish Greedley in that one. Freakazoid, he played the police officer friend of Freakazoid. The Magic School Bus, and notably provided the grumpiest voice of Carl in Up. Also, some of his other credits also include J. Jonah Jameson in Spider-Man the Animated Series and Hudson in Gargoyles as well. While he personally celebrated Hanukkah, so he's of Jewish descent, Asner was approached to play Santa. He discussed the role in an interview with the Atlanta Journal. Quote, "What actor of any faith could deny being a part of something like this? I've actually done stories about Santa Claus several times already, including one movie where I played a criminal who was mistaken for him," unquote. That movie was The Christmas Star, a 1986 Disney Channel movie where Asner played Horace McNichol, an escaped counterfeiter disguised as Santa Claus. Asner's Christmas gigs started rolling in, including narrating "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" and starring in "Yes, Virginia, There Is a Santa Claus." Actually, now that I think about it, all right. No, I was just thinking that did he provide the? No, I don't think he provided the voice of that original, animated special of that. But let's see. For the story of Santa Claus, Asner accepted the titular role because the role meant he would be reunited with an old friend, Betty White. The two characters co-starred on the Mary Tyler Moore Show, and White was cast as Mrs. Claus. So think about this: Ed Asner as Santa, and Betty White as Mrs. Claus. That would have been something. That was probably something. Quote, "I knew I'd get close to her one way or another," Asner recalled. Quote, "Fate dictated that Betty was a late addition, and we only had one day of work together. But he gave me a chance to sing, and I leaped at that. It felt good," unquote. If you guys haven't already, you guys can like and share the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people to engage. I'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. All right, so for the story of Santa Claus, actually, we already read that part. Okay, Asner's approach to playing Santa in the greatest Christmas movie of all time was different from most Santas. Quote, "A lot of performers, if they were first starting out, would probably try to go for the ho ho ho, quote unquote. You want to avoid that, though, and not make it syrupy," unquote. He was a natural Santa, and Asner went on to voice Santa Claus in 7 productions, including Olive, the Other Reindeer, and Elf. But the holiday special that started it all was The Story of Santa Claus, which you can watch on MeTV Tunes on December 6th, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, and December 21st at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 Central, 2 Pacific. By the way, 4 Pacific on December 6th. And of course, December 24th or Christmas Eve, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, 4 Pacific. Let's see. Now, before Ed Asner, of course, for those in my particular generation, we probably, even though I know most people probably didn't know who the actor was, the voice that we would know as Santa Claus for our generation was Hal Smith. Of course, most of us would find that out later, or I at least I would, because and just doing my research on it. But Hal Smith, of course, was the Santa Claus for such Hanna-Barbera classics as Yogi's First Christmas, Flintstones Christmas, Flintstones Family Christmas. Watch MeTV Tunes. 'Tis the season for tunes on MeTV Tunes. Saturdays starting at Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 Central, 3 Pacific, and Sundays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 Central, 2 Pacific. All right, so. Alrighty then. All right. All right. So with that being said, now let's get ready to move on to the next the next the next the next article, as it were. Next article for tonight that we're going to go over here. Be this one right here. And again, if you haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. With that being said, here's our next article we're going to be going over here. Which is Jacob Elordi is obsessed with this classic cartoon. The man behind Frankenstein loves a monster mystery. Article published today by MeTV Tunes. Stuff. And today being Thursday the 20th, of course, we're 1 week away from Thanksgiving, and a friendly and reminder to everybody that we won't be broadcasting on Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving Friday. So next Thursday and Friday we'll be off, but we will be here Sunday through Wednesday. So just a reminder to everybody for next week. Hollywood leading man Jacob Elordi is best known for his dramatic roles in films like Frankenstein and Wuthering Heights. But it turns out he's a cartoon fan just like us. During the press junket for Frankenstein, Elordi joined Frankenstein co-star Oscar Isaac for an interview with Brute. When asked about his favorite shows, Elordi revealed his favorite cartoon, Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, looking for you. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? Quote, I watch a lot of Scooby-Doo, unquote, Lordy said. Quote, I love Scooby-Doo. I love a Scooby-Doo in the background, unquote. Oscar Isaac responded with a quick, quote-unquote, roo-roo. To which Lordy returned a, quote, roo-roo, Reggie, unquote. The moment is delightfully silly, and you can watch it on the Brute interview here. So they have a link on the article here to that particular interview. Hey, if it shows up. Hey, Metal. Hey, if it shows up. Thanks for popping in, guys. But which era of Scooby-Doo is Lordy's favorite? Quote, I love the movie. I love Spooky Island so much, unquote. He said, quote, it's a great film, a great whodunit, unquote. Lordy's main guilty pleasure watch is the live-action 2002 Scooby-Doo movie, but he appears to enjoy all eras of of the cartoon. Lordy's revelation of Scooby-Doo fandom has caused fans to wonder if there ever was another live-action movie, would Lordy act in it? And who would he play? Fred seems like a natural choice, or even Shaggy. But because of the interview, we now know that he can do the Scooby-Doo voice pretty well. So many character options, but we think he could return to his Frankenstein roots and play a monster, or at least the man behind the mask of a monster. If there was another live-action Scooby-Doo movie, which role would you cast Jacob Elordi in? Tell us your thoughts on the MeTV Tunes social media. Watch Scooby-Doo on MeTV Tunes weekdays at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 Central, 1:30 Pacific, and Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Pacific. Alrighty then. So there we go with that. Those are the two articles we're gonna do tonight. Let's see. We had at least those both went pretty quick. So I think maybe I will try to go see if there's anything else I can pop up here. So let's clear this out. And again, if anything grabs your attention, guys, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Guys, have anything you want to bring up? Let's see. Let's see. Maybe Bounding into Comics has something a little longer, not too much longer, but what we got on that? Hey, we got something from we got a Marvel article here. I guess I can get over. Now that I've brought that up there. All right, so let's get into this then. Get into this article now. Oops. All right, so Marvel seemingly admits defeat on Miles Morales' name debate, visually tag him as Spin in smaller quotes there, in Radioactive Spider-Man on smaller quotes. Well, article by Spencer McCulley, published November 19th, which was, of course, was yesterday. So he's got kind of a black costume with lightning on it, kind of a black or dark blue and yellow kind of costume it looks like there. So let's see what's going on here. Ever since Marvel began seizing upon Miles Morales' popularity as yet another merchandising opportunity, their insistence on having him and Peter Parker share the core Spider-Man moniker has long been a subject of fan debate, with many finding the publisher's refusal to differentiate between the two to be more than a bit confusing. But after almost a decade of digging their heels in on this name-sharing scheme, the latest issue of Radioactive Spider-Man suggests the publisher may be ready to throw in the towel. So I guess they got tired of hearing people complain about it. So I guess now they're going to finally do something. Even with the Spider-Verse movies, people only talk about animation. It's why every animated movie that comes out now looks like it. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's see. Continuing on here with the article. As far as comic books go, the idea that multiple versions of a character may exist at once is pretty much par for the course, thanks to the medium's regular use of alternate universes and timelines. Heck, the first mainstream universe superhero adventure, Flash of Two Worlds, took place between two versions of the Scarlet Speedster, Jay Garrick and Barry Allen, or basically the Golden Age and Silver Age versions of Flash, or Earth 2 and Earth 1 versions. And that was in The Flash, Volume 1, I believe. Flash Volume 1, issue number 123. But what's less common is for two or more variants to go by the exact same code name, especially when they are both actively operating in the same universe, as doing so serves only to leave readers and in-universe characters scratching their heads as to just who is being referred to at any given time. Yeah, that can be a bit of a interesting problem there. When you're talking about Spider-Man there, are you talking about Miles or are you talking about Peter? In light of this need to differentiate variants, a combination of deliberate writing and the general phenomena of, in smaller quotes, fandom slang, will usually result in smaller quotes, main version receiving the core title and all others taking on a unique colloquial ID. For example, while Barry or Wally West or Bart Allen, depending upon the run at hand, and Jay wear the mantle on their respective worlds, the former, which I believe is Barry Allen, former is usually known as the Flash, while the latter is more often identified as the Flash of Earth 2 or simply Jay. Um, mhm. And there, I believe, is a panel from the story I was just referencing that they've referenced as well, the Flash of Two Worlds. Yeah, here it is. Barry Allen J. Garrett crossed a multiversal threshold of in the Flash, Volume 1, number 123. The Flash of Two Worlds, word by Gardner Fox, art by Carmine Infantino, Joe Giella, and Carl Gafford, and Gaspar Saladino. See, while a generally annoying storytelling practice on its own, what makes the Spider-Man name-sharing case particularly egregious, even outright insulting, is that Marvel threw out the unique identity Miles already had in order to push him as being on quote unquote equal ground with the veteran Peter. Originating in the Ultimate Universe and making his web slinging debut only after the death of his world's Peter Parker, this unfortunate tragedy left Miles as both Earth 1610's one and only Spider Man, and on a multiversal scale, the new Ultimate Spider Man. Hmm. Though his early career saw him carving out his own niche in the web of destiny, this began to change with 2015 Secret Wars, which ultimately concludes with Miles and his family making the jump to Earth 616, where rather than giving him some sort of unique identifier, now that he was working directly alongside Peter, Marvel instead continued to present him as just, in smaller quotes, Spider-Man. Their decision partly motivated by the ham-fisted, smaller quotes, diversity push of the mid to late 2010s, as well as a desire to capitalize on it. Marvel's efforts to draw no distinctions, in smaller quotes, between the two heroes only served to inflame the divide between Miles fans who sought to defend his worthiness as an official Spider Person, and Peter fans who felt that putting him on the same level as his successor was yet another instance of the publisher um, wasting all over wasting all over his character for cheap drama. Let's see, it looks like metal has so let's see what you guys are saying here. When Miles came to 616, he should have been a traveling spider dude trying to find himself across the country and or world. They could have discovered they could have discovered his character that way. Leave New York City for Peter. All Marvel characters have to live in New York City. That's the rule. I don't. I'd have to disagree with you there, Jozo, because I know, like, obviously, let's see, Thor. I think he's based out of Chicago. Dr. Donald Blake is based out of Chicago, from what I understand. Thor is, of course, an Asgardian, which means as Thor, he, of course, has residency up in Asgard. Namor is in Marvel's version of Atlantis. Okay, let's see. The Hulk, Bruce Banner, the Hulk. He kind of more roams around, but a lot of his roamings happen in the American Southwest. And then, of course, you have the West Coast Avengers. You have the X-Men, who are actually, from what I understand, the X-Men and the Xavier School are based actually in like northeastern or northwestern New York, as I understand it. So there are lots of characters not in New York City. Yep. I've just named a few of them right there. Anyways, continuing on with the article here, in parentheses here, in the interest of fairness, a not insignificant amount of this discourse was beset by genuine racists. However, such intellectual dishonesty and stupidity really doesn't warrant respect for proper rhetorical consideration. In other words, bleep them. On parentheses. Alrighty then. Though Marvel would only feel emboldened in this name sharing following the release of Into the Spider-Verse, thanks to its message of anyone can wear the mask, the 2021 release of the Disney Junior's Spidey and His Amazing Friends would see a noticeable waver in their conviction, as rather than Spider-Man, the animated series instead tagged Miles as Spin, and then spin a web. For the next 4 years, this name would stay relegated to Spidey and His Amazing Friends, with every other piece of Marvel media still referring to him by his proper hero title. But that all changed with the release of this week's Radioactive Spider-Man, Volume 1, Number 2. Radioactive Spider-Man, Radioactive Spider-Man. Do 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 Spider-Man, Radioactive. Penned by Amazing Spider-Man Volume 7 scribe Joe Kelly, as part of the X-Men's current Age of Revelations event. Said miniseries follows Peter as he attempts to continue serving New York's friendly neighborhoods in the wake of the novel X-virus infection of humanity. The mutation-causing effects of which he attempts to stave off by continually overloading his radiation-positive spider power granting cells with even more radio. Oh boy! So in other words, to keep basically from mutating, he's basically radiating himself, just continue. I guess like kind of like with cancer, radiation therapy, like cancer, I guess. And though he initially believes that the disease's effects have rendered him alone in his wall crawling duties, Peter is nearly brought to tears when he finds himself saved from a PDC beatdown by the sudden appearance of both Ghost Spider and Miles, who in this desolate future has abandoned the Spider Man name and now goes by, you guessed it, Spin. Hmm. Comics ignored the fact that the X-Men weren't supposed to be in Manhattan. The old Spider-Man and his amazing friends had Iceman watched reruns as a 5-year-old. Yeah, well, okay, the older Spider-Man and his Amazing Friends cartoon, that was back in the early 80s. That was actually one of the ones I grew up on. Okay, you had, of course, that was Peter Parker, Spider-Man, Iceman, and Firestar. Of course, um, Spider-Man in that one was voiced by Dan Gilvezan, who would also go on to voice Bumblebee and Hotspot in Transformers. The great Frank Welker did the voice of Bobby Drake Iceman in that cartoon. Of course, Frank Welker, known primarily, his probably most famous role is as Fred Jones in Scooby Doo, but also, of course, had a number of different roles, including Bronx from Gargoyles, a number of Transformer characters, including, of course, Megatron, Galvatron, and of course, in Flash and GI Joe, and Torch. Let's see. Radioactive Spider-Man kind of sucks. Let's see. Doesn't really matter. Radiation just means whatever. Let's see. Does he have the spin like in Steel Ball Run? I would always laugh because they were renters, yet their entire place was impossibly modified to be their base. Peter was never getting his deposit back. hmm. Hmm. All right, as we continue on here, get back to the article. Let's see, where are we here? Admittedly, this is not exactly irrefutable evidence that Disney and Marvel may be looking to permanently change Miles' name, especially as Radioactive Spider-Man takes place outside of Earth 616 canon in a potential future. However, the fact that the name Spin was even used to refer to Miles in any sort of official comic book capacity shows a major shift in both companies' operations that suggests Marvel may finally be realizing that trying to address two distinct characters by the exact same moniker is a headache no matter which way you slice it. That could be true. That could be true. All right. So with that being said, that we're done with that article. So I'll just take a quick peek, see where we're at on time here. Let's see, 40 minutes. So okay, I think it's a good time to, of course, prepare to move on to the next portion of the show, which is the wrestling wrap up. So we'll look back to last night's AEW Dynamite, look ahead to tonight's TNA Impact and Ring of Honor. See what's all going down as such. So of course, first off, on last night's AEW Dynamite, I'm gonna check something here real quick. Oh, and apparently there's going to be apparently they actually also had the Collision episode last night as well. It looks like so they actually had a double episode due in part to the fact of so these were both so you had the go home episodes for both Dynamite and Collision on I believe it's TNT last night. The wrestling wrapping paper time. Well, we call it the wrestling wrap up, just kind of because of the. But anyways, so both Dynamite and Collision were taking place from Agganis Arena in Boston, Massachusetts. On Dynamite had of course Bryan Danielson, Excalibur, and Tony Schiavone on commentary, was stopping in for certain matches, including Don Callis, MVP, and Samoa Joe. In the opening match, the first for the first spot in the Casino Gauntlet match coming up this Saturday's Full Gear pay-per-view, Bobby Lashley defeated Ricochet. Bobby Lashley of the Hurt Syndicate defeated Ricochet to earn the number one spot in the Casino Gauntlet this Saturday for the AEW National, and to crown the first AEW National Championship. The second match saw a six-man tag match in which Josh Alexander of the Don Callis family teamed with Young Buck, Matt and Nick Jackson, defeat the team of Skyflight, a Scorpio Sky, and team of Top Flight, the Martin brothers, Dante and Darius Martin. In the match for the number two spot in the Casino Gauntlet Battle Royal, Shelton Benjamin of the Hurt Syndicate defeated Speedball Mike Bailey, basically meaning that the first two people to start off the Casino Gauntlet Battle Royal will be Hurt Syndicate teammates Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin. So those will be the first two members to enter. And then a tag team match, the Death Riders duo of Claudio Castagnoli and John Moxley defeated the team of Orange Cassidy and Roderick Strong. In a quarterfinal match for the AEW Women's World Tag Team Tournament, the Timeless Love Bombs of Mina Shirakawa and four-time AEW World Champion Toni Storm advanced in the tournament to the semis over the team of former AEW Women's World, the two-time AEW Women's World Champion Riho and Alex Windsor. And then in the main event, a non-title match, AEW World Champion Hangman Adam Page defeated Katsuyori Shibata. That all happened on last night's Dynamite. Now, of course, moving ahead on to Collision, which aired right after, from the looks of it, also from Agganis Arena in in Boston, Massachusetts. And just in case you guys don't know that name, Harry Agonis was a first baseman for the Boston Red Sox in the early 20s, from 1920 to 1922. He had unfortunately passed, that was around the same time that the Spanish flu was going around the country, and he was one of the victims. He was, they actually named Agonis Way, which is a street in Boston, after him, in honor of him. So, but anyways, last night's collision from Agonis Arena in Boston, Massachusetts, saw in another quarterfinal match in the AEW Women's World Tag Team Tournament, advancing to the semifinals. Team of Megan Bayne and Marina Shafir. Megan Bayne is also right now going back and forth between. So Megan Bayne and Marina Shafir advanced over the tag team of Tay Vanna J, and Ty Mallow. Megan Bayne is also going back and forth between the state here in Japan, as she's also participating in Stardom's Goddess of Stardom tournament. In a double Jeopardy eliminator match for either the AEW Unified or CMLL World Trios titles, Kazuchika Okada, the AEW Unified champion, defeated Mas. Now, basically, what eliminator match is, basically whoever won this match would get a shot at the other's title. So basically, since Kazuchika Okada won the match, he can now find two other partners and challenge Mascara Dorada and his team for the CMLL World Trios title. The Trios matches in Mexico are basically what we here in the States would call six-man tag matches. And in a unification match between the interim Women's World Television title and Women's World title, Mercedes Moné, who had defeated Mina Shirakawa a couple weeks ago for the interim title, defeated Red Velvet to become the new Ring of Honor World Television title champion. All right, so that's all that happened on last night's AW programming. So now we're going to, of course, talk about what to look forward to on tonight's TNA and Ring of Honor programs. And on TNA Impact tonight, coming from Full Sail University in Winter Park, Florida, with, of course, Tom Hannafan and Matthew Rainwalt on commentary. In a four-way women's match, you'll see Rosemary taking on Danny Luna, taking on Indy Hartwell, taking on Myla Grace. So Rosemary, Danny Luna, Indy Hartwell, Myla Grace will be all taking each other on in a four-way match. This has a very international feel to it, as you have two British women, an Australian woman, and a Canadian woman all involved. So Matt Cardona takes on Mance Warner in a one-on-one case with his former valet in Mance Warner's corner, Steph DeLander. John Schuyler of the Great Hands in Order 4 takes on Martin Reed of the Rascals. And another women's four-way match, you'll have Victoria Crawford with Tessa Blanchard in her corner, taking on one half of the Angel Warriors, Xia Brookside, taking on Killer Kelly, and taking on Jody Threat. So you got two four-way women's matches bookending the card tonight on TNA Impact. So pretty interesting there. And finally, looking ahead to what's going to be going down on Ring of Honor tonight, Ring of Honor Club. On tonight's Ring of Honor Club, with Ian Riccaboni and Caprice Coleman on commentary. You'll see in action the team of Top Flight of Dante and Darius Martin, with, of course, Christopher Daniels and Layla Gray in the corner, taking on the Infantry's Carly Bravo and Sean Dean, with Trish Adora in their corner. Of course, the Infantry, 2/3 of the Ring of Honor World Six-Man Tag Team Champion. J.P. Grayson takes on Satman Singh in one-on-one action. In a women's pure rules match, Katie Arquette set to take on Billy Starks. In a six-man tag match, the team of Tommy Billington, Adam Priest, and Jay Lethal. Now, Tommy Billington, of course, the nephew of the Dynamite Kid, the late great Dynamite Kid, will be taking on the frat house trio of Griff Garrison, Jack Jameson, and Cole Carter, with Preston Vance in the corner. Another women's pure rules match. Diona Purrazzo will be taking on Viva Van. And in a match for the Ring of Honor Women's World Title, Athena will be taking on Harley Cameron. So that's all. And that's all we got for the wrestling wrap up for you guys tonight. I'll probably go over more of what's going to be going down on this Saturday's Full Gear tomorrow. We're at like 51 minutes already. I was going to try to hit it around 55 minutes, but we'll probably be going a little over that, but that's all right. All right, so now with all that being said, with today being Thursday, November 20th, 2025, let's go ahead and take a look back at this date. Niche history. So, let's see, 2019, 1995, 1965, and 2020. All right. So first off, we're going to head back 60 years ago today. And on this date, 60 years ago today, back in the year 1965, the Merry Melodies short Go Go Amigo premiered in movie theaters on this date back in 1965, 60 years ago today. It was a Warner Brothers Merry Melodies cartoon short, produced by DePatie-Freleng, DFE Enterprises, directed by Robert McKimson. The short was released on November 20, 1965, stars Daffy Duck and Speedy Gonzales. In this film, Speedy needs music for his birthday party. Daffy is a shop owner who denies him the free use of his radios. There we go with that. So, on this date, 60 years ago today, the Merry Melodies short Go Go Amigos premiered on this date back in 1965. Now moving ahead 30 years to the year 1995, on this date in 1995, and what would serve as the go home show before the following Saturday's World War III. On this date in the year 1995, WCW held its Monday Nitro event from the Macon Coliseum in Macon, Georgia. The show would serve, of course, as the Go Home Nitro before the following weekend's World War III pay-per-view. It had Eric Bischoff, Bobby Heenan, and Steve McMichael on commentary. Of course, unfortunately, in recent years, we lost two of that three men broadcast team, as Bobby Heenan died from throat cancer back in the year 2017, and we lost Mongo was about a year or so ago to, I believe it was multiple sclerosis, I think it was multiple sclerosis actually. But anyways, So on that show, the main event of this show saw Hulk Hogan and Sting go to a no contest. Road Warrior Hawk defeated Big Bubba. Eddie Guerrero defeated Brian Pillman on that, and the show opened up with um, Big Scott Flash Norton defeating the Shark in a minute 44. So 30 years ago today, WCW Monday Nitro happened from the Macon Coliseum in Macon, Georgia. So now moving on to the year 2019, which was just, of course, 6 years ago today. On this date, 6 years ago today. The fifth and final issue of Absolute Carnage went on sale on newsstands from Marvel on this date back in 2019 and sold for $4.99. Was 40 pages, written by Donny Cates, with art by Ryan Stegman, inked by J.P. Mayer and Jay Leaston, lettered by Clayton Cowles, and Frank Martin Jr. providing the coloring. So on this date, 6 years ago today, the fifth and final issue of Absolute Carnage from Marvel went on sale on this date back in 2019. And now, moving ahead to the year 2020, since I popped that up, on this date in the year 2020, this date in the year 2020, Shin-El Animation's Stand By Me Doraemon 2 premiered in Japanese theaters on this date back in 2020, 5 years ago today. Stand By Me Doraemon 2 is a 2020 Japanese animated science fiction comedy film based on the Doraemon manga series and a sequel to the previous movie, the 2014 film Stand By Me Doraemon, directed by Ruichi Yagi and Takashi Yamazaki. Is primarily inspired by Doraemon's short film Doraemon, A Grandmother's Recollections. Alrighty then, so there we go with that. I thank everybody for being here tonight. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. We'll be back with, of course, more Niche News tomorrow. And, of course, this Sunday I'll be joined by Apex from Apex Comics. We'll be another trip down Comics History Lane. We'll be focusing in on comics that went on sale from what we know of today as Harvey Comics. I think it was Worth Carnahan back then. We'll be focusing in on Cyclone Comics number 3. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. And I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.